Take a deep breath, take the higher road. That's what they always say, as if they know the way. They won't take it from me. But don't ever doubt yourself, 'cause life ain't just a dream. You made your own, so kick and scream. The people will act with a never-ending force. You never had the chance, so what you waiting for? The day has come, my friend, 'cause this is war. It's time and this is war.
Today I want to share with all of you a groundbreaking discovery for anyone affected by COVID-19. As thousands continue to experience persistent symptoms of long COVID and potential spike protein effects, an independent clinical trial from North Idaho may bring relief to both vaccinated and unvaccinated individuals. Under the guidance of Chicago-based internal medicine physician Dr. Alan Bain, this trial aims to detoxify spike protein from the body using an innovative homeopathic protocol combined with an advanced S1 immune subset panel blood test. The trial's progress offers hope to thousands suffering from persistent symptoms related to long COVID and vaccine injury, including brain fog, fatigue, and more serious conditions. Dr. Bain has struggled with long COVID symptoms since early 2023. He has tried various treatments without lasting success. After learning about this novel homeopathic system, he joined the trial and closely tracked his own recovery. Remarkably, within weeks, Dr. Bain reported significant reduction of symptoms and required fewer supplements to maintain his energy levels. Repeated S1 immune subset blood tests indicated a gradual decrease in spike protein, leading to a complete absence of spike markers and full recovery of symptoms after the 8-week protocol. Dr. Bain has stated that this is the first protocol he has found that directly targets spike protein detoxification. In tracking his lab results over time, it has shown that the protocol appears to work as symptoms improve and spike protein markers disappeared from his blood samples. Studies now link spike protein to a large range of long COVID symptoms, regardless of vaccination status, including impacts on cardiovascular, hematological, neurological, and other vital systems. Therefore, removing the spike protein could be the answer to resolving long COVID symptoms. Now part of a larger independent trial, the protocol is being made available to medical professionals and long COVID sufferers interested in participating. And this is something that I am excited to announce that we will be offering at Remnant Healthcare to bring hope and healing for those who have been suffering for far too long. You're listening to Nurses Out Loud on America Out Loud Talk Radio. I'm your host, Nurse Kimberly Overton. Before we get started today, I do want to encourage our listeners, if you have questions or comments, or perhaps you want to share your own experiences with what you're seeing on the front lines of healthcare, you can now submit those to any of the hosts by emailing us directly at nurses@americaoutloud.com. We would love to hear from you. We encourage all of you to engage in the battle and find your voice in this fight. But until you are able to do that, we will continue to be that voice for you. Today, I am joined by Dr. Alan Bain and study coordinator, formulator, and researcher, Jen Dillon. Dr. Bain has helped many with acute and chronic illnesses, including myalgic encephalomyelitis, chronic fatigue syndrome, Lyme disease, Candida yeast overgrowth, fibromyalgia, COVID-19, long hauler COVID-19, and post-vaccination injuries. Dr. Bain is an internist offering telehealth services in 15 states and in-person appointments in Park Ridge, Illinois. He's also known for winning a lawsuit against his state during the COVID epidemic so he could properly treat his patients. Jen Dillon is a natural product formulator, homeopath, and researcher. She has an extensive background working with plant-derived ingredients, homeopathy, and structured water. Jen is known for developing H2O frequency water and more recently, the homeopathic detox protocol that we'll be discussing today. This protocol is currently in a privately funded clinical trial supported by both holistic health practitioners and Western medical professionals in Canada and the United States. Dr. Bain and Jen, welcome. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
You. Yes,
Yeah,
thank
absolutely.
you so much.
You're welcome. I'm really excited to be able to share this information with our listeners. This truly is groundbreaking.
Oh, I'm over the moon, and that's an understatement.
I absolutely. And Jen, you've been on the show before. We've actually talked about this protocol when it was kind of in its infancy. So it was I don't even remember how long ago it was. I know it was at least several months ago.
Well,
Maybe a year.
yeah. Kim, I started this protocol in the spring of 21, and it started in my hometown with a PharmD, a pharmacist and a doctor by the name of Scott Porter. And we started it as an independent case study. We didn't have access to a diagnostics lab like we do now and a research team, which is being built. So this has come a long way.
That's incredible. And Dr. Bain, let's kind of, if you would, just kind of start by sharing a little bit about your personal experience with long COVID and what led you to explore this particular homeopathic protocol. Like, how did you become aware of it and decide to become?
Well, in the beginning, I had COVID, the real COVID, in June 26th of 2022. And I did the usual protocol that we all know about: ivermectin, hydroxy, budesonide, doing really, really well. And then all of a sudden, what hit me in early January or mid-January of the next year was a big emotional event. And all of a sudden, I woke up just like couldn't think clearly. It was hard to push forward. And I wasn't really that crazy sick, but I needed tons and tons of vitamins. And so I was on that journey to figure out what's causing all of this. And, you've known of all these ideas of people having microclots. And then there were studies from Alabama with Dr. Vaughn looking under microscopes. And I was doing protocols there. I was trying some other protocols, and nothing ever really stuck until April of the next year. And I was still struggling. I was able to go to work, but I still, was very upset that I had to take all these supplements. And I know there's a lot of sicker people. I had a kind of a mild long COVID, because I know people have horrible PEM, post-exertional malaise, that, outstrips what I had, but I couldn't function as well as a doctor. So then Gail McCrae, the wonderful nurse that she put something out on one of the doctor's site and talking about, is anybody interested in a homeopathic protocol? And I am a homeopath for years and years, actually. I'm a classical homeopath. So I'm very fully aware of how to utilize homeopathic remedies. So I jumped on that, got in touch with Jen, and then I started the protocol. And then I have the receipts, as they will. I decided, well, let me check this spike protein that I knew about. This was the S1 spike protein that was attached to the monocyte. And I learned about it through another company that was providing a very larger cytokine panel. And I just asked this independent lab, well, let's try to just prune it down to what's necessary. So I have a pre-test that shows I had a spike, and then I was off to the races. And then I started taking the Gen protocol, and I could tell you more after that, but that's kind of how all that began.
That's amazing. And so this is really the only diagnostic test of its kind. Is that correct?
Well, to my knowledge, it is the only one that actually is not the antibody to the spike. It's the actual spike itself that's attached to the white blood cell or the monocyte. The monocyte is the scavenger. It's actually a sentry for the endothelial lining of the blood vessels. And it goes into 3 different phases: the intermediate monocyte, the classical monocyte, and the non-classical. My first monocyte was the non-classical monocyte. There is somebody else in the country trying to work up something, but they don't have, a protocol like we do. And, and I don't know exactly where they're looking for their spike or what it's attached to. But right now, this is about over a year and a half, 2 years. This is probably the only one in the country, I believe, that really is showing this.
Yeah, I've heard of a couple of different, kind of like whisperings of rumors of tests that are going to be coming to market, but I haven't seen anything come to fruition. And it just seems like such a needed thing that we need to be able to have something, quantifiable that we can look at and say,
Yes.
Okay, we see that you have the spike protein, and as in your case, we see it diminishing with use of this protocol. So that's absolutely amazing. Jen, I want to bounce back to you. Just as the coordinator, you've had this going on for some time. You started this in 2021. But what were some of the initial challenges that you faced getting this study up and running, and how did you overcome those?
Kimberly, it's kind of all had a flow to its own.
Mhm.
Um,
Agreed.
the challenge was getting people to look at my work and take me seriously. And fortunately enough, I had a very open-minded practitioner in my hometown that connected with me. And then from there, I met some MDs in Canada, believe it or not, and they opened up to it and gave it a try. And the initial response that I got was from Western medical professionals, and now I have holistic practitioners as well on board. But it was very interesting to me, and also a godsend to see that I had Western medical professionals supporting a holistic protocol and giving it the time of day. That alone to me was a medical miracle.
Oh, 100%. Because, I mean, homeopathy has long been, written off as they call it quackery. They do that with any of these holistic modalities, and it's really unfortunate. So the fact that you have the attention of allopathically trained physicians, that says a lot. That says
And
a lot.
and what a godsend to have had one of the nurses that are connected to you recommend it, and then Dr. Alan Bain, who's connected to this brand new S1 immune subset blood test that has markers for the spike at a whole different level of testing, get a hold of my protocol. I would definitely have to say there's some divine intervention there.
It certainly sounds like it. I mean, honestly, and I've said this so many times that there's just no coincidence in any of our paths crossing. And I've seen evidence of this over and over throughout these last 4 years. As I've, met different people, and it seems like we're all just perfectly positioned for such a time as this.
It's amazing and it's beautiful. And it just seems like we are in the middle of a shift. And I'm very excited to see where this takes us in the future as far as our healthcare is concerned.
Absolutely. And Dr. Bain, kind of going back to you and talking about your results with the protocol, but what significant changes did you first notice in your condition after starting the protocol, and how quickly did you start to notice those?
The change, I did 2 protocols, and that's part of our discussion as well. But when I started the protocol, I noticed that within a week or week and a half, I hardly needed any of the vitamin. Maybe I needed 60% less of the vitamins. And then the next week I needed far less. And I didn't have any die-off reactions, as Herxheimer reactions at all. And I'm feeling really, really great. So I figured, you know what, let's do a second test. I'm feeling really good. 5 weeks after the protocol began, 5 to 6 weeks, let's do a test. And then all of a sudden, that non-classical monocyte went away. Like, wow. But then the classical popped up, but I feel good at, what we need to do is look at labs and tell a story. So part of the story is we're proffering that Jen's protocol was slowly teasing out the S1 spike from different locations. It's hard to say that with certainty, but that's what it looks like. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to do a second protocol. And sure enough, I did a second protocol, and then I had Herxheimer reactions. I had a sore throat the next day after the first week's one, and then I started getting intermittent brain fog situations because you're going to have to do binders. I used just mainly activated charcoal to help clear out the detoxification process as it was going on, and then reached the second set. So after the second set of going through the Jen Dillon Idaho protocol, I got another S1 subunit test, and actually it would be the third, if you think about it, right? The third one. When I got the third one after the second Jen Dillon, it was all gone. All of the S1s from the monocytes were clear, normal. That was amazing. And the only thing I need now is my usual here and there probiotic, my coffee, and my magnesium. But that's it. And then one more
As long as you
thing.
get the coffee in there, you're good.
No, but here's the key. It's a good joke. It's true, Kim,
Yeah.
but coffee was not working. I'm like, oh my God, how much coffee can I take? And actually, strangely, the thing that got me out of my brain fog, which was interesting in the beginning, was B12 and L-theanine.
Mhm.
L-theanine was really the thing that got me rolling. But I'm like, I'm not doing this forever. There's no way I want to keep these vitamins up. So I wanted to be set free, and I want to make a statement. And that statement is, I do the ivermectin and I do the LDN and all the things that we all do to help patients. My goal with Jen's protocol is to always try to set them free of even needing that. So I have very lofty goals for this protocol. I want you to know that. My other lofty goal, I might tell you, is I'm going to look for other indicators, not just the spike. I'm going to look to see if people's blood vessels get better. That's another topic we'll talk about, to see if the Gen protocol can reverse some very harrowing problems in some patients of mine that got pelvic varicose veins because of having had COVID. That's a whole other topic. It's a little teaser there for you.
And Jen, like, so these incredible results that Dr. Bain is experiencing, and there have been others on your protocol that are having similar results. Is that right?
So since the spring of 21, I've worked with a group of 7 practitioners, some Western medicine doctors and some naturopaths and homeopaths. And we have documented cases, and some have done microscope dark field live blood analysis. And we have seen clotting blood under the microscope go away and new healthy white blood cells generate. We have seen what looks like hydrogel completely disappear after the protocol. But this is a whole different level, and this is why testing is so important. We're learning so much now that we have a diagnostics team on board, and Dr. Bain heading up this clinical trial now is just amazing, because there's so much that we're going to continue to learn. Under the case study, the last 2 years, though, we have documented cases where people have had symptoms vanish, like neuropathy is one of them. Comorbidities have gone away as reported by the practitioner after doing the protocol. But you have to understand, this was originally set up, this protocol, to just be a 4-week protocol, a month-long protocol. And now, because of this special test in the diagnostics lab under Dr. Bain, we know that we need to do 8 weeks to get rid of the spike from the monocyte, which is amazing.
Absolutely. You would think that more people, or, like, well, I don't want to say the government, but, you would think that somebody would be doing these types of studies, but it doesn't seem like anybody is studying long COVID or vaccine, certainly not vaccine injury, and what can be done. Are there any other studies that you're aware of?
I know of published work by some great professionals, doctors, scientists out there explaining what the spike protein is and protocols that are recommended to remove it. But I don't know of any other study currently like our study, where we have a diagnostics team with this monocyte S1 blood panel that has markers for the spike. And now we are attempting to prove, and are proving, that the spike protein is being removed from the monocyte. So this is groundbreaking.
There's a lot to. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
There's a lot to learn here. That's why we're going to call this the independent study, because we have people that are sick, and some of them in our study don't come up spike S1 positive, and they're sick. And so my job is to say, okay, so you're negative for spike, but you're getting better with the protocol. And we need to then get a second blood test, which I'm doing, to see if we can pull it out, which then strengthens the argument that this spike is hidden and it needs, as you could see, more So when somebody says, "Oh, I don't have spike and I'm still sick," it's like, okay, but you still need to do the protocol because we need to continue pulling it out of you. This is the premise. This is the premise. I'm trying to prove that premise, by the way, and I've got two or three in the workings to show that, to prove the premise.
And with
A
this
lot of people
protocol,
have, yeah. So a lot of people have said, things are dormant in you, right? They're dormant, right? So when Dr. Bain did his 3 blood tests, the first blood test showed one marker for the spike. And
Correct.
then the second blood test after the first protocol, it didn't, that marker that was positive the first time was no longer positive, but there was another marker for the spike that showed up.
Right.
And then he had to do a second protocol for a month. And then at the end, all the markers were clear. So there is something to it that it's pulling it out of somewhere. And that's part of this research for
And then
sure.
one more, and don't forget, Jen, to tell Kim that I did a fourth test 4 to 6 weeks later to show that it's still gone. So it's still gone.
yeah,
So
and that was my
it
next
wasn't a fluke.
question. Yeah,
Oh,
that was my
yes.
next question is do we think is it the 8 weeks and is it like a one and done type of thing and we're not going to have to deal with this anymore?
No,
Can
no.
her?
Oh,
Well, let me answer that actually. We're still learning, but Dr. Bain, um, after 6 weeks after, still did not test positive for any of the spike markers. So we are hopeful, I'll just put that after the 8 weeks, that's going to take care of it, but we are still learning.
and that is all true what Jen said. But the key to this also is I was praying that I didn't get COVID. You see, because then my observation of myself would not have worked very well, Kim, because it's like, well, then there's the spike back there because you just got COVID. Evidently, I did not get COVID. What's interesting is a prominent researcher, very prominent, who developed this test said, "Oh, you have the classical monocyte. Well, that means you're having COVID." I'm like, "I'm not having COVID. I'm feeling good." So it's very researchy, but the point is it's definite that if you get COVID, it's going to come, not the whole thing's going to come back. So, but for research purposes, thank God I didn't get COVID in the middle of my own little study, if you know what I mean.
Right. And so during the protocol, the 8 week protocol, are there any other like lifestyle changes or any other supplements that you need to do in addition to the homeopathic protocol? Is there anything else that they're advised to follow?
Go ahead, Jen.
No, other than a binder, depending on if they get a detox symptoms. Some people have a mild detox, some people don't get any detox symptoms, and then we have cases where people are really sick. And
Mm.
so, they're going to need to take it slow, work with a practitioner, and take a binder. But no, they do not need to take anything else with this protocol. And, we're talking about the research, but I have to say, we've probably got close to 1,500 case studies now since the spring of 21, prior to being involved with the diagnostics team. And we've had people with some severe symptoms resolve and they've not returned. And this goes back 2 years. So I'm very encouraged by what we're doing here.
That's amazing. And
Agreed.
for those that might not be well educated on homeopathy, can you explain a little bit about to people who might have say, concerns about safety using homeopathic protocols?
Well, I always encourage people to do their own research. I mean, homeopathy has been around literally for centuries. And the basics of homeopathy is like treating like, and I believe it was coined by a German doctor in like 1807, the law of like treating like. And it's like taking a tiny little dose of coffee and giving it to somebody that's suffering from insomnia. Okay. So I work with a lot of different carriers. I'm a person that does energy work. I work with frequency. I have a background in herbs. homeopathy, and I like to use different carriers. So, I play around with waters, tinctures, herbal remedies, and with this particular homeopathic protocol that I've formulated for long COVID and vaccine injury, it is a electronic protocol, electronic homeopathy. And the carrier I use is a sucrose pellet. And they will be taking 4 tiny pellets, 1 dose once a week. And unlike repeated doses, which is generally done in traditional homeopathy, this is more similar to a practical homeopathy approach where you give 1 dose every 7 days because you don't want to cut off the frequency in that dose, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are starting to become more interested because homeopathy used to be our medicine before Rockefeller medicine took over. This like homeopathy was just medicine, right?
It it was widely practiced. Actually, even it's so interesting that we've been so out of the loop here in the Western medicine world. Homeopathy was actually handed out by the government of India during the COVID pandemic. So homeopathy is actually widely practiced in other countries. And it's just here, it seems like in our neck of the woods, that it's been viewed on as like snake oil.
yeah.
And I see a shift happening, and I'm really glad that I'm seeing more and more people open to this because there's really no adverse reactions and no drug interactions with homeopathy. It either does something or nothing. And so it's a very safe and effective way to deal with a lot of our medical issues.
And if you want to touch on that, like where you're talking about it either does something or it does nothing, so how do you manage I guess, the expectations of participants that are going to join the trial, especially given the complexity of long COVID symptoms and just the wide range of symptoms? How do you manage those expectations with study participants?
Um, you know, I find that most people that are open to this understand that it may do something or nothing, and they're willing to try it
Yeah.
because they've tried so many other things that people have promised them something and they've gotten nowhere. And in some instances, paid a lot of money. And to put things in perspective, homeopathy isn't as expensive as a lot of other treatments out there.
Mhm.
And if somebody has been suffering for so long and they can try this and it's very inexpensive to try it, why wouldn't they?
The
Right. Yeah.
the metaphor could be, how come nobody questions cell phones? How am I able to talk to you on a cell phone, or me, or my loved one, my wife, on a cell phone? I mean, that's frequency. And so this is frequency intervention. I mean, when you talk about managing expectations, we do this all the time. We music, frequency music. I mean, this is all about, it's all the same. It's just at different levels and different times and different intensities. In terms of when you say managing expectations, in my mind, it's like, how do you explain how this is just really no different than those things at all?
Yeah. Yeah. I think so many people, and you're right, Jen, when you mentioned, so many people have tried so many different things. And that's kind of where we're at right now is people are just frustrated and they don't want to try one more thing or, come out of pocket for one more treatment or one more test or whatever the case may be. But I think that this is so important. I think the results that we have seen are so promising. And it gives me hope for the many that I know personally that are suffering from either whether it be long COVID or vaccine injury. I'm really hopeful with
Well, I am too. And I just wanted to go back to what you were saying about, how do I get people's expectation? How do I deal with people's expectations of this? I have been fortunate enough that most of the people that have entered our study have received an 85% symptom relief in conditions. So 85% of the people that have come into our case study have experienced a positive response. So I think that's kind of incredible, but that's what we have. And that's what we're seeing. So I feel like, if somebody's going to go do a series of IV infusions because they have long COVID and they've been told that that's going to help them, and maybe it will, but I know a lot of people that have done that haven't completely recovered from long COVID symptoms, spent, I'm going to say $1,200 or more, and for a lot less money, they could have been enrolled in this case study and contributed to the research and possibly found that they got some symptom relief and maybe more.
Absolutely. We're going to jump, we're going to talk so much more about this when we come back from the break. And I really want to kind of dive into how people can get involved and enrolled in the study. America Out Loud Talk Radio plays on the iHeartRadio network. You can also listen on our media player from any web browser, anywhere in the world. We have the best in-class apps available on Apple, Android, or Alexa, 24/7, great talk radio. All of our shows go to podcast the following day. You can hear them on apps such as Spotify, Stitcher, Pandora, iHeart Podcasts, and many more. Be sure to subscribe and rate the show on Apple Podcasts for me. Don't forget to check out our online store at americaoutloud.shop, where you can find all of the products that we represent on our network at a discounted rate, including an incredible line of products from Chemical Free Body. Unlike the majority of supplements you'll find on the market today, with Chemical Free Body, you won't have to worry about harmful ingredients, binders, fillers, or flow agents. Their ultra-safe breakthrough nanosilver technology destroys pathogens, balances the microbiome, and boosts immunity. All of these products are proudly made in the USA and are backed by an unheard of double your money back guarantee. I've made a twice daily Green 85 drink part of my routine, which has led to a decrease in belly bloat and an increase in my energy throughout the day. Use promo code OUTLOUD to save 20% off the Healthy Gut Bundle. I'll catch you on the other side of this break. Stay with us. Hey everyone, this is Nurse Kimberly Overton, your Wednesday host on Nurses Out Loud. Don't forget to check out our online store at americaoutloud.shop, where you can find all of the products that we represent on our network at a discounted rate, including an incredible line of products from Chemical Free Body. Unlike the majority of supplements you'll find on the market today, with Chemical Free Body, you won't have to worry about harmful ingredients, binders, fillers, or flow agents. Their ultra-safe breakthrough nanosilver technology destroys pathogens, balances the microbiome, and boosts immunity. I've made a twice daily Green 85 drink part of my routine, which has led to a decrease in belly bloat and an increase in my energy throughout the day. Use promo code OUTLOUD to save 20% off the Healthy Gut Bundle. Be sure to tune in to Nurses Out Loud Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern.
I've got 2 questions for you. Have you been feeling off since COVID? Are you struggling with lingering symptoms? You're not alone. As Dr. Peter McCullough says, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Introducing the wellness company's Spike Detox Trio. This powerful supplement combines nanokinase, bromelain, and turmeric to support your immune system and fight off harmful spike proteins. Nanokinase improves circulation, while bromelain boosts antiviral defenses, and turmeric reduces inflammation. It's not just another supplement. It's a scientifically backed solution to help you bounce back from COVID. Imagine waking up filled with energy, feeling clear-headed and vibrant again. It's possible with Spike Detox Trio. Reclaim your health now by visiting twc.health/outloud and use promo code OUTLOUD for 20% off your first order right now.
Cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death and disability. Lifestyle changes are critical, but you can also support your heart with concentrated nutrients. Healthy Cell created Heart and Vascular Health to support cholesterol and blood pressure with CoQ10, vitamin K2, resveratrol, and soluble fiber. And Healthy Cell's not a pill, it's a patent-pending gel you swallow. Get heart healthy. Go to healthycell.com and use code OUTLOUD for 25% off your first order. Healthycell.com, code OUTLOUD for 25% off.
We wouldn't go a day without washing our hands, brushing our teeth, and washing our nose. Well, wait, we wash our nose? Yes, the number one place where bacteria, viruses, and pollen enter the body is through the nose. So the average person breathes over 23,000 times a day. That's 23,000 opportunities for bacteria, viruses, and irritants to get into your nose and make you sick. For an extra layer of protection, wash your nose with Xlear. That is Xlear, Xlear. Xlear's drug-free nasal spray features xylitol, an ingredient proven to block adhesion of many nasty bacteria and viruses and effectively clean Not just rinse like a saline, but wash your nose. Clear nasal spray quickly alleviates congestion, opens your airway, and ensures your body's natural defenses are strong. Read the research studies for yourself at xlear.com. That's xlear.com. Protect yourself from the pathogens and junk you breathe. Pick up a bottle for you and your family today.
Hi, I'm Dr. James Bragman, board-certified EO in internal and geriatric medicine. Do you or someone you know suffer from airborne allergies due to pollen, pet dander, and other particles, which aggravate and irritate the sensitive nasal passages? Are you tired of the side effects of common allergy products, such as drowsiness, feeling lethargic, and dry nose? Well, now there's Cofix RX. This revolutionary product stops airborne allergy symptoms, all while avoiding the side effects of the usual allergy remedies. Shake, spray, and cleanse away your allergy issues with Cofix RX. Click on the Cofix RX banner ad in the American Out Loud shop for 20% off your next order of Cofix RX.
During COVID, we got educated on the power of natural virus protection and immune boosting using vitamins A, C, D, zinc, and quercetin. The problem? Getting them at the right dosage from truly natural sources that doesn't cost an arm and a leg. Enter the Daily V-Stack. Using breakthrough cellular absorption technology, we put those vitamins together and supercharge them with a complete multi-mineral complex. The Daily V-Stack is basically an oral IV of 6 products, all in one at an affordable price. Go to chemicalfreebody.com/outloud today. Get the Daily V-Stack, protect yourself, boost your immune system, and save 20% on your first order.
Well, the year 2024 must be the year of the Patriot, and AmericaOutloud.news will equip you with all the information you need to give new meaning to the words Patriot Act. For our actions always ultimately define our words. Now is our time, my fellow Americans. America Out Loud Talk Radio. Liberty and justice for all.
Welcome back to Nurses Out Loud on America Out Loud Talk Radio. I'm your host, Nurse Kimberly Overton. Wherever you're listening from today and whatever you're doing, I thank you for giving me the gifts of your time. Be sure to make AmericaOutloud.news your daily stop for all the latest news and happenings. We all must do our part and share the stories, the articles, the podcasts, and videos so we can help secure America's future. If you're just joining us, I've been talking with Dr. Alan Bain and formulator and researcher Jen Gillen. Let's jump right back in. Guys, thank you again for being here and for sharing this really critical information with our listeners.
Thank you, Kimberly. I really appreciate it too.
Yeah, this is fantastic. This is something that I think everybody needs to hear about. So I want to talk a little bit about that. I guess I'm just wondering, why is this not just mainstream by now, right? Like, why can't we have this everywhere? Are these are you having pushback from other physicians or other medical professionals?
Actually, I think that's great that you brought this up. You know, when we did our press release, I had some independent media, but it was really hard to get I don't have anybody in mainstream media yet, as of yet, that has published even our press release.
Wow.
So it's interesting, isn't it? Is it because it's homeopathic? I don't know. Is it because it's about the spike protein? I don't know. Interesting, though.
Yeah, these are things I guess we're not allowed to speak of, in the mainstream if it's not from the, .gov website, I guess.
Well, this gives us an opportunity to, your group, Nurse Kimberly, we're all kind of behind the scenes trying to save lives.
Yeah.
Maybe in the long run, it'll be okay because, all the podcasts and Rumble and all these things and offshore media, we'll call it. I don't know. I mean, maybe we can quietly take care of a lot of people, thousands of people, thanks to your program and others. Because
we definitely can. Yeah.
I mean, once the mainstream hits it, that's why we're controlling this pretty well, because once the mainstream hits it, they're going to try to maybe they would try to poo-poo it or something. I don't know. It has to come through the right channels. That's why, I'm working with Jen and she's working with me and you're here. I think the proper channels need to come together in the right way.
Yeah.
I
And
agree.
as much as we want to get it out there, for the world and everybody, you're right. It has to kind of like the same way that I grew Remnant grew very organically.
Right.
And that's the way that I wanted it. I didn't want everybody because we aren't for everybody, right? If
No.
we don't want a carbon copy of the same broken system we're leaving behind. So I think it's important that we connect with the right people who are going to support us on our journey and who are going to understand
Absolutely.
benefits that this incredible protocol and testing will offer. So, I mean, I think it's happening in God's time. And
Yeah, I think this is a flow of its own. I like to use the word flow.
Yeah.
It definitely has a flow of its own. And I believe people will come to have a better understanding of what the spike protein is. Because remember, there's a lot of people out there that don't even understand what the spike protein is. And
Right.
and then once they understand and there's more education about how important it is that, we know whether or not we even have the spike in us. I mean, that's why this new blood panel is going to be huge in the future. I believe it's going to be a standardized test in the future. It'll have to be.
Yeah, I would think so. And I certainly hope so. I can't really believe that it's taken us this long to get there. I figured by now we would have it, but unfortunately we don't. But I think we're well on our way, especially with the incredible work that you're doing. But Jen, if you want to talk a little bit about how is this trial being funded? What role do sponsors play in the research and dissemination of results, if any?
So Kimberly, that's great. I'm glad you brought that up. Dr. Bain and I were just talking about it. There is a foundation, I'll let Dr. Bain talk more about that, where we are asking for donations. But we are asking for public support to fund this because we don't get big funding. We're not pharma.
Exactly.
This is an untraditional homeopathic protocol. And so what we have done to make this affordable is we have negotiated with the diagnostics team in the lab to offer a test at a reasonable price for the specific part of the test that is most critical to give us markers for the spike protein. And we have asked the enrollees to pay a $200 enrollment fee. And we have practitioners donating hours of their time in this research, uploading results, documenting results, following up with patients. And we are asking for a $200 enrollment fee to help support the cost of this work for the case study and the trial. And they get 8 weeks of the protocol for paying the $200 enrollment fee. The labs are extra. People can opt in to do a before and after lab, or they can just do an after lab if they feel like they have the spike protein and they just want to take one at the end to make sure it's gone. That is between the enrollee and the practitioner. And then we are also working right now with a new 501c that Dr. Bain will talk a little bit about to get donations so that we can fund some of this for people that absolutely have no money.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Right. But the foundation I started about a year and a half ago, it's called the Medical Arts Healing. So the website is medicalartshealing.org. That's basically it. One word, medicalartshealing.org. And it'll be used to offset the price for perhaps a Jen Dillon, Idaho protocol, or to pay for a bit of the S1 subunit test. I've got some patients already. Like one person, he said he'll pay for the whole thing, and he did. He's negative on spike, but then he's maybe getting better. And I said, well, why don't we test it after, so I'm trying to offset some of the prices as I get funds to come in. So there's some people that can't afford it at all, and I'm going to try to find the money through the foundation.
That's great, because there really are so many who are suffering, and they're especially the vaccine injured, because many of them have been financially devastated by their injury. They haven't been able to work, and they have used I mean, I know of some of the injured who have literally spent their life savings trying to find healing. So while the study is certainly affordable, I think, Jen, we talked a little bit about this yesterday. I think you said as far as like the 8-week protocol plus the testing and all of that was under $1,200. Um,
Yes, and some of the practitioners will have an intake fee, and that will vary, and then there will be a charge to get the blood drawn. But yes, it'll all come under $1,200 and that's for 2 of the blood tests, the before and after, the intake and the enrollment. That would be the whole thing.
and that includes the 8 weeks of the protocol.
And that includes 8 weeks of the protocol.
Yeah. So that to me sounds very affordable, but to some of these people who have been completely financially devastated by their injury, that is even, just too much for them to do. So I'm thankful, Dr. Bain, that you have this foundation, and we'll be sure to include a link to that in our show notes as well. So you're a 501c3 and you are accepting donations.
Yes, and I'll get that to you to prove that, to show it up.
And Kimberly, the enrollment fee just for the protocol is $200.
Correct.
And we have all the information on getdetoxed.us/clinical/trial, where people can read all about the protocol. It walks them through what's involved. It explains what spike protein is. It's very informational. So I would encourage people to go there to learn about it.
Okay, excellent. And we will make sure that we include all of these links to all of these in our show notes to make sure that everybody has all of the information, because this really is incredible. And we, as we stated earlier, I'm very excited that we are going to have our practitioners at Remnant Healthcare taking this on and walking people through their protocol. Some people can do it on their own. A lot of people really like to have a nurse to kind of touch base with and, talk over symptoms and Herxheimer reactions and all of that. So we are happy and excited to be working with your group in order to provide that care for these patients that are going through it. So
Yeah.
we'll have it set up very, very, very soon. I'm excited about it.
And I want to mention that it's not only the spike. If I can say that, I'm going to be looking at repeat, let's say, CT scans, angiograms, to see if we can get spike protein out of blood vessels kind of indirectly. So I'm going to be looking at structure. I'm going to be testing in my own mind. Can we pull this out of areas that might be weakening blood vessels? So I've got a lot of clinical thinking on that. And I'm sharing that because all the nurses that you're associated with, it's not only the spike, it's how to follow things up as people get better with certain diseases.
And I know that we kind of touched a little bit on this earlier with one of my questions about, is this a one and done type of thing? But with the level of exposure, granted, if we're not getting COVID or we're not getting vaccinated, there's still the issue of shedding. So is there
Absolutely.
Should this be something we're doing kind of regularly? Should we do the 8-week protocol? Then should we repeat that at some point? I really believe in just regular detoxification. I think that's the only way because of the toxic load that we're faced with every day.
So Kimberly, I want to answer that because I've been working with this protocol with people since the spring of 21. And I find that once a year seems to be like a really good idea to do the protocol. And it might be something where, we just want to do it once a year and we get our regular annual checkup with our blood work done and we do a protocol. And that might end up being, based on this research, what we find, but we'll have to wait and see.
That's amazing. And then, so Jen, how are the results being documented and shared within the scientific community? Do you have plans to do a peer-reviewed publication of any kind for this?
So peer review, yes, not with an outside board though. This is I'm actually really excited about what we're doing. So practitioners that are joining the study will be sent a link, and once you're part of the research group, we'll be sharing each other's cases. Everything will be uploaded, and other practitioners will see other practitioners, enrollees, blood work, and case notes. And it's kind of like we're bringing together holistic and Western medical professionals, and we're doing this independent, peer-reviewed study, and we're all going to be sharing each other's findings. And I'm really excited about it.
That sounds like a beautiful thing. And it sounds like something that's really long overdue and getting, kind of Western medicine to collaborate with more holistic modalities and kind of, there has to be middle ground, right?
Right.
The real trick to this is it's not a drug that Jen has created. So I think if we had a drug and a study like, let's say, even ivermectin, you'd need a true IRB, institutional review board.
Yeah.
I think to make it kosher, you'd have to do that. But this is different. To me, this is different. So we can be independent in my mind.
I would agree with that.
Because if it was like nattokinase or, well, maybe not that one, but you know what I mean, hydroxychloroquine helping decrease, we probably would need to have legitimacy with the IRB, which is related to FDA and everything. But with this is a non-traditional homeopathic thing.
And Dr. Bain, I wanted to ask you if you, just as a physician, have you identified any patterns or factors that have influenced the effectiveness of the treatment across different patients?
That's a great question because everybody's different. I have some patients where, it's not like a slam dunk. So when you everybody's different how I answer that, because some, like just today, I was telling Jen just today, I have a patient who was having GI complaints and they were looking for parasites and they just found candida, and he's a young kid, 27 years old or under a little bit. And he took letter A the first week of the protocol, and he's been like on and off nauseated for a year or two. And 4 days later, boom, his nausea has gone away as of today. Whereas another person, it might take a little longer. So the pattern I'm going to be looking for is the spike. Can I pull it out if it comes back negative at first?
Yeah.
Right. And, Fali, just last question for both of you as we are running out of time. I can't believe it always goes by so quickly. But for both of you, just what has been for you the most rewarding part of working on this trial, and what inspires you to continue pushing boundaries on this type of research? And Jen, we can start with you.
For me, I mean, I literally seeing people relieved of symptoms they've had for maybe the past few years. I've had people hug me and say, Jen, I think you saved my life. That's all the kind of reward I need.
Yeah.
I am very humbled to be a vessel for this work. And I will continue to be a researcher and learn from it. And I feel like if we can't help one another, what are we here for?
Amen.
For me, it's getting a reasonably priced protocol for still very sick, vax injured, and COVID stricken people. And because these supplements wind up costing hundreds or thousands of dollars. I have a patient whose parents have committed $40,000 to $60,000 for doing plasmapheresis and IVIG and all the other goodies. And for me, what enamors me about this is that all the Western medical technology that we're having a hard time even getting neurologists to even okay, because they're blowing off the atypical presentations of their neurologic people, if you know what I mean, from the vax. To me, this is a simple, elegant, and God-given answer to very sick folks that need to breathe easily. And so that's my hope, to get this to people that even can't afford as much as they would have to afford from all these other things.
I think that's fantastic. I'm so grateful for both of you. I'm so glad that you guys have found one another. I think this is just, like you said, divine intervention. And I mean, what a fantastic combination. And any way that we can help at Remnant, we are all in.
Hey, Kimberly, one thing I wanted to ask before we go. I think it would be really nice if somehow we could link the PDF files of Dr. Bain's blood work. I think he'd be willing to share it. I'm going out on a limb, Dr. Bain.
Who am I sharing it with the nurses in your group, Kim, or who am I sharing this with?
Or if you wanted to share it with the show notes, in our show notes for our listeners.
I could try to.
Could we do that, Dr. Bain, so that the world could see your blood work before and after? I mean, I feel like we need to share that if we can find a way.
Let me ponder that. Yes, I'm all for it. It's just
because for me, the underlying culprit of all these conditions is the spike protein. So for me, it is super significant that we are seeing results where we are removing the spike protein from the monocyte, and we're making it really easy for people to enroll in this study. And I want them to know that, there is a very high chance that they're at least going to come out of it with that.
I would have to prepare something even more special for this request. And so we will talk about it.
Okay, just putting it out there.
Okay.
Well, that would be fantastic if you can figure out a way to get a link to it, or however you want to do it. We can absolutely include that in the show notes.
Perfect.
But I thank you both for being here, and thank you so much for just your tireless efforts to help those who are suffering.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for having us on your show.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And that is all the time that we have for today, friends. But remember, we are here on the air 5 days a week, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, with a different nurse host daily. You can also catch the encore at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please be sure to tune in and listen to myself and these courageous nurses. As we walk you through all of these hot topics, we will empower you with information and education. We will advocate and we will stand in the gap for you, because we are nurses and this is what we do. I'm your host, Nurse Kimberly Overton. You can find me here every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. Until next time, be safe, be well, and God bless. Remember, we are in a war for truth. We're putting out a bounty on the real misinformation and exposing the purveyors of propaganda. No topic is off limits as we shine our light and expose the darkness.